What's up, guys? It's the real main event, the Rogue Soldier, the essential John L. Crossfire.
And I'm Mrs Crossfire.
And once again, you guys are tuned into Caught
in Conversation. Shakalaka-laka.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to episode 102 of Caught in Conversation. Now, full transparency, we are filming this intro and then subsequently the outro about a week after this conversation. We're actually doing it the same night. We've just done episode 100, which will have been 2 weeks ago, and we've just ranted and ranted and ranted, so our voices are shot. So we're going to try and hit the ranted, reviewed, and marked out. That's exactly what we did on that episode. Go back and listen to it. Cheap plug, because it'll be out by the time you're hearing this. We're going to try and smash through this intro and then smash the outro afterwards, because this was a very fun conversation that we had with the one and only G-Mac. We talked all things Yu-Gi-Oh, of course. We talked about a little bit of cosplay and why he has stepped away from it a bit, but a little project that he's got coming up. And of course, the very first guest I ever had on this show, besides Mrs Crossfire, but she always co-hosted the episodes that she was on, because she was on from the very beginning to the end. But the first proper interview I ever did was with G-Mac, and of course, as you all know by this point, the core five that I now ask all my friends in the wrestling business was built off of the questions that I asked Jeff in that conversation. So it was only fitting that I finally get him back on and we hit him with the proper, official, dare we say, Core 5, and we get some fun stories about Jeff's time where he did train for wrestling for a little bit, but unfortunately as life works out, it just didn't pan out. But he would love to get into the ring, and we talk about people that he'd love to manage and this and that, and maybe he's going to go rogue. Look, I can't make any promises because I don't have power, but if we can get a show somewhere in Goulburn, I'll do my damnedest to have G-Mac there, even if he is end up just being like a local celebrity or a guest, announcer or something. Like, we'll get it done. I'm going to put by the time this episode's out, the graphic's going to be out saying that G-Mac has gone rogue. You know why? Because I fucking said so. Anyway, Mrs. Crossfire, please hit us with the song and match of the week before I rant too much longer, because I want to get into this conversation for these fellas.
Alrighty. So, the song of the week, very fitting, Return of the Mac by Mark Morrison. So that is Return of the Mac by Mark Morrison.
Return of the Mac. Shout out Willie Mac.
And then we have the match of the week, which is, picked by me, Steve Austin versus Kevin Owens, WrestleMania 38.
Which, again, we have just spent like 40 minutes ranting about. Well, not the full 40 minutes, but we spent about 10, maybe 10, 15 minutes ranting about it on episode 100. And we dropped a little nugget saying, hey, we've got an episode coming up saying that it's going to be the match of the week. Obviously, this week, and then last week's episode, as you're listening to this, was Derek from Curtain Jerker. So it was kind of obvious to see, if you looked at it on paper, it was obvious which episode it's going to be, because Jeff is very vocal about being a very, very strong mark. What? For Stone Cold Steve Austin and CM Punk. But I believe, if my memory serves me correct, I think there was actually a CM Punk match on the first one I did with him. I've got to double check that. I do have the list. But anyway, Pretty banger song, honestly, though. Return of the Mac. It was too fitting. Mark Morrison, and of course, Stone Cold. He always said he'd never come out of retirement, and now, every time he gets asked, he just says, never say never. So maybe me and Jeff, Jeff and I, that's the proper use of grammar, Jeff and I, G-Mac, maybe we'll get our CM Punk versus Stone Cold Austin match. Maybe.
Never say never.
No, it's probably never not, and I'm going to cry, but Jesus Christ. But Mrs. Crossfire, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together if you would like to do this official introduction here for the King of Games, the King of Yu-Gi-Oh! You can do it so much better than I can.
Ladies and gentlemen, introducing the King of Yu-Gi-Oh! G-Mac! Return of the Mac!
Turn off the Mac.
Yes, again.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is episode, I don't know what number it's going to be. Obviously, we'll do an official intro when it comes out, but I'm here with G-Mac. It's the Return of the Mac, and of course, Mrs. Crossfire is here as well. But yeah, we just discussed with you, G-Mac, how you doing today? It's your day off, and you're jumping on the pod, and we appreciate it.
So far, so good.
It's
so far, things are going pretty well.
And then by the end of this conversation, he's going to be like, fuck you guys, I could have been playing video games.
Not exactly. We've actually got one downloading at the moment.
Oh, okay. What are you got downloaded?
Oh, the new DLC for Ark come out.
Oh, nice. So yeah, I'm just a man-child, and I got the Lego racing game yesterday, and I'm going to go install that after this conversation.
You see, well, with Lego games, once you've played one of them, you've played them all.
But they're still fun, though. I feel like they're fun, but... But I gave you a little brief, and obviously I said in the very first guest I ever had on the podcast here, besides Mrs Crossfire, but she was more co-host for those episodes, the first actual interview, dare I say, was with you, Jeff, a.k.a. you were Mac Attack Cosplay at the time. We've rebranded to GMAC, and I'm sure we'll get into that during the conversation. But during that conversation, we were talking about, Yu-Gi-Oh! And cosplay and bit of music, and we did dabble in a bit of wrestling, but this is predominantly a wrestling podcast. So I actually took the interview I did with you, and I literally used that to then mold the core 5 for my wrestling interviews. So we're going to talk a little bit of wrestling today, and of course we'll throw some Yu-Gi-Oh! And cosplay and just nerd out in general in the midst. But just to break the ice for this episode, Jeff, what was your earliest wrestling memory?
Oh, that would be what actually got me into wrestling. Was because my father was a big wrestling fan, and he was watching it one day, and it just so happened to be Vince McMahon and The Rock were in the ring, and then Stone Cold comes out with the beer truck and sprays him with the beer truck. Now, I forget how old I was back then, but I saw that on the TV. I sat up next to Dad, and I've been into it ever since. That also would explain why Stone Cold is one of my favorite wrestlers.
I mean, of all like the very first memories, that beer truck is still like, it's iconic regardless, but that's fucking awesome for like the first ever wrestling memory. That's sick. At what point did you, because obviously we're going to jump all over the place, but we don't want to, sit here and just talk for wrestling too much when we want to tell your story, because you've been doing some cool shit lately, but we mentioned in the most, I think we touched on it in the episode, I don't know, but you have talked about it publicly that you did actually train for a little bit of time. I think we touched on it in the last episode. But,
yeah, we did.
At what point, Jeff, from being a wrestling fan, did you discover professional wrestling in Australia, and what kind of gave you that push to start training to begin with? And do you currently watch any Australian wrestling? So 3 different questions in there. You can answer them in any order, my bad.
Well, I do keep up with rock and roll wrestling here in Oz.
Yes, down in Wollongong, I should say.
Yeah, no, because they came up to Comic-Con one year, and that's how I discovered them. As for getting into the training, a bloke that I used to play Yu-Gi-Oh! With actually helped me out with that, because he trained with them. Yeah, his name was Chris. He doesn't play Yu-Gi-Oh! Anymore, and he's off to bigger and better things. But yeah, he used to train with the PWAC down in Canberra, and he hooked me up, and I started doing it through them.
It's kind of funny, though. It's like a little small world, because obviously PWAC doesn't exist anymore, but their old ring is in Cowra, and that's the ring that I had my debut match in.
Right.
Oh, nice.
Obviously, it's a lot more beaten down probably than when Jeff was doing his training, because there was a little chunk of years between that, but it's kind of cool. I didn't actually, I forgot that it was PWAC that you were training with. But so how did that come about? Did you just kind of like start talking about wrestling, and he was just like, hey, like, come train? Or
yeah, well, I've always, was very vocal about being a wrestling fan, especially when I was a lot younger. And that's when he said that he wrestled for him. And then I said, oh, well, I've always been trying to get into it. And he's like, oh, well, let me know if you're in Canberra on this day. So I did. And he brought me in, introduced me to everyone. And then I told him, look, I've always wanted to learn how to do this. And they're like, cool, we'll sign you up.
Which is kind of crazy when you think about it, because, like, obviously we've had people that, there are wrestlers, and they've been in the business for 15, 20 years. And even back when they started wrestling, it was still very much in that taboo stage of, oh, we don't want to let this guy in, and we don't want to, like, for example,
We're gonna initiate you in,
High
brother.
Octane. He started as a ring crew and a referee, etc. for PWAC, like way back, and they were really weary of letting the new guy in because like this mark and this, and it's so crazy to think that even those chunk of years later, Jeff, you've kind of just met this one person and he's like, no man, fuck it,
Yeah,
like, come on.
I think having him vouch for me kind of helped. Otherwise, yeah, I probably would have just been ring crew and stuff like that.
It really does show just how much wrestling's changed in the last 20 years. Though, like even PWAC when they first started, they were like outsiders, but they're like, okay, yeah, he's cool with this guy, so he's cool with us. Like that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So I've never actually really talked to you about that because obviously you were Mac Attack when you were doing the cosplay stuff, and you've told the story multiple times about how that was going to be your finishing move, which I mean, catchy as hell name, but. Is there anyone particularly in the rock and roll roster that you're keeping up with, like on the socials and stuff, or?
Not really, no. I'm just really follow their main page, and I think the last event they had in Goulburn I had to miss out on because I was working.
Yeah, because that was the last Comic-Con they did, wasn't it? I think they came up for that, or the one before that. It was like
they did do a show at the Workers Club ages ago.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they did.
Yeah. It fell on the weekend that I was working, so I couldn't exactly go to that one.
I forgot about that one, but yeah.
Okay, I'm going to chime in now. Moving away from wrestling just for a bit, you guys discussed last time how you've done Yu-Gi-Oh! Tournaments all over, including even Japan. But what you've just come back from the Yu-Gi-Oh! Championships in Sydney. Can you tell us a little bit more about your experience there? How did that go?
Oh, unfortunately, I didn't do as good as I wanted to.
Oh, bugger.
I mean, I wanted to win it because both my manager at work and the girl that owns the local card shop down here picked out a place for the trophy.
Oh, man. That would
So I was gunning to win it, but unfortunately I got 4 wins, 4 losses, and a draw this year. So it wasn't enough to make the top 32.
That's still a solid effort, though. Like I wanted to go to that just as a spectator.
Yeah, it would have been cool just to watch.
Fucking funds and medical bills put a kibosh on that. But I saw the photos that you and David and all the guys put up, and I was just like, man, it looks like a fun time. I actually dueled for the first time, like because I've been doing Master Duel, which I got destroyed on, but I've been doing like Duel Links and stuff. But I actually dueled Nick Maltino, and he's very much like me. Like I think he's even more of a beginner than I am. He watched the OG series as a kid, but he's like, I've just bought some Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and I was like, obviously, as you know, I've been working on the Gladiator, the Beast deck, so I'm like, well, because he's not familiar with like the current dueling, I'm like, I'll leave that one at home. As much as I really wanted to get, as much as I really wanted to bust that out with like the contact fusions and that, I was like, no, I'll play fair because this guy's not familiar with it. I literally, it's just a basic Blue Eyes structure deck that Mrs Crossfire bought for me. I haven't added or subtracted anything to it yet. It's just the basic like $20 deck. And I was like, fuck it, all right, it's a beginner deck. He had like a hybrid of like Rex Raptor and Weevil plus just random shit.
He had that cash dollars.
Yeah, he's got money. He's got a massive deck, and I beat him 3-0. And I was just like, holy shit! I was like, to me, that was like winning the championships. I was so excited because, as you know, like with my eye problems, I have a lot of trouble reading the cards. But I had a good day where I was like, fuck yeah! And we sat there and we dueled, and I absolutely just destroyed him. And it was like the greatest feeling of my life. I was like, this is like what Jeff feels, except he actually accomplishes shit.
Well, you're a lot better person than me because, yeah, when I teach people, I don't hold back.
Jeff's just like, no, fuck that. You're getting the heroes and you're getting ace whether you like it or not.
Yeah, no, that's what my missus said. She's like, you could have gone easy. It's like, this is the one game I won't go easy.
You see, in fairness, though, so someone actually put it together themselves, but they were getting rid of it for whatever reason. I actually bought Mrs Crossfire a Harpies deck, but it's not a structure deck. It's just a pre-made Harpies deck that someone was getting rid of for whatever reason. And it's like literally shifting through the deck. Like the day that I got it for, obviously I had to look through them. I'm like, holy shit, like they're gonna give my Glad Beast a run for its money, especially like for beginner
And I know how to
duelists.
use them pretty fucking well too, so it's like, oh shit.
You know, Harpies were actually pretty good back when they got all their new support. When it first come out, they were actually up in like tier 1.5.
I'm right. Yeah, because they've always kind of been a bit of like my favorites. I've got like so many favorites, but I'm like, one of my favorite ones though, I reckon would probably be the Dragon Master Knight. It's a fusion card. You probably know it.
Oh,
anyway.
yep.
And it's
Jeff's
just like
you don't need to
yeah,
explain to me.
it's just like Blackluster Soldier and Blue Eyes Bob. Do you remember?
Yes,
that one?
yeah.
It's just because I love Blackluster Soldier and I'm like, I love Blue Eyes. And I'm like, it's so generic, but that's one of my favorite cards.
Oh, you'll love its new fusion.
Oh, okay.
They took out Black Luster Soldier and put Dark Magician of Chaos.
Oh, mate,
Or
that is
Magician,
cool.
Magician of Black Chaos, as he's called over here.
That's cool.
Yeah, I that's literally
Like,
last
yeah,
night.
I love Dark Magician.
Shit you
Dark
not, I was
Magician Girl.
playing Duel Links and I was putting together a new fucking card, and one of the spell cards
Yeah.
mentions
I need to
Black
play
Magician
that
of
again.
Chaos, but then like it still has the actual name in the title. But then I was looking through trying to find it, and I'm like, I think it's this one, and I literally had to Google it to be like, oh no, it's called this, and I was like, well, I feel fucking stupid.
I don't even know why they changed its name. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. And it works with Dark Magician anyway, so...
Yeah. Just getting on to that too. What's your favourite, like, Yu-Gi-Oh card, Yu-Gi-Oh deck?
Oh, well, favourite card, I've actually got a couple.
Yep, that's easy.
Elemental Hero Flame Wingman
Oh, yeah, cool.
and Mechana Fortress.
Oh, okay, right.
Now, favourite Yu-Gi-Oh deck, well, that's going to be a tough one.
Yeah.
Because I like all the decks I've got at the moment.
Which one do you
Hero.
find... I was going to say, which one do you find you win more with?
Oh, that would be Heroes because that's the one I go to for all the big competitions.
Oh, nice.
See, I've always had because I kind of checked out of the anime like midway through GX, but I always loved the hero cards, and like every time, like I'm still doing it now. I used to do it all the time at fucking high school, but as I said, I'm doing it now. But I was always like, hey Jeff, like what's the best card for this? But like I would love to do a hero deck, but then I'm like, at this point I'd just be copying Jeff, and I think there's enough people in Goulburn that already copy Jeff's dueling strategy, so
No shamans mentioned.
shout out to my cousin. But yeah, man, like I love the heroes, but I'm just like, there's so many of them as well. Like I know you can have up to 60 cards in a deck, but I don't want to just be walking around with this big thick thing, because then it's like, fuck, man, like.
Yeah, well, the hero type does have nearly 200 plus cards just for them alone.
It kills me on Duel Links with only having like the minimum of 30, because it's like more of a speed type game. I'm like, I want this one, but then I need this one, and I'm like, ah.
I just randomly thought of a joke. I'm like, is that a deck, big old deck in your pocket, or
Are you happy
to see me?
Jesus.
It's funny, me and my missus make that one all the time.
It's so good.
It's funny though, like when you got the big ass deck boxes in your pocket, you're just like, fuck.
Like when she brings me and I'm down at locals, and I'm like, oh, well, I've got to go. I'm about to go play with insert player's name here. About to watch him play with his deck.
Oh, fucking hell.
Oh. Now, just getting on to, like, changing the subject again. Your last conversation that you had with John, you talked about, like, your cosplay stuff. We understand you've taken a break due to the toxic environment that it has become. But are there any other, like, cosplays that you're still yet to do that you want to do?
My good friends over in Barley Firefly Costumes have just finished off my Kamen Rider Buffer suit, so it's on its way over here.
Hell yeah.
As for which ones, apart from Primal, like he's always going to be on my list.
Dude, it's going to be so expensive to
But
do.
he's probably going to be like, 5,000 plus, so he's not going to be happening anytime
still need to
soon.
watch the movie though. I'm so fucking keen. We've actually started we started from the beginning just because that's how my ADHD brain works, but we've watched 1 and 2. We're going to watch 3 at some point in the next few days, but I'm literally rewatching all the Transformers movies just so that I can watch Rise of the Beast.
I wouldn't worry about that because Rise of the Beast, think of it like a reboot.
Yeah, well, I know that, but like my brain, I'm just like, nah, I'm just gonna soak it all in.
But I will give the director that credit. He did, apart from not letting Rhinox talk, because Rhinox was like, the real intelligent one of the Maximals and their tech savvy guy. He actually didn't do a bad job portraying the Maximals.
Yeah, I had a mate complaining about how Optimus Prime looked in it, and I'm just like, bro, that's literally the whole fucking point of this.
Like, I definitely wouldn't have got Ron Perlman to do Primal's voice. I would have tried to get the original guy back.
Oh, 100%.
Because he said, I would have been more than happy to come back and do it.
But I think that's kind of where they're trying to draw the line of, hey, this is a different thing, which I do get. And Perlman's a great, I don't want to say replacement, but I also don't want to say substitute because that's kind of shitting on Perlman.
When I saw Perlman do the voice for Primal in that Power of the Primes cartoon, that's where he lost me because he's like, "Oh, my name is Optimus Primal." Like, okay, do you have any emotion, any personality? Like, I know he's a robot, but Primal's always been this rookie leader that always stepped up and took command. And one of those leaders, if he was leading the charge to hell, you would be standing there next to him going, "Let's go." But this Primal was like, "Yeah, nah, man, I'd turn around and walk the other way."
That's fair, honestly. Because obviously you're a much bigger, Transformers fan than I am. I got really into like the OG 80s cartoon when they did the reruns.
If you think I'm a big Transformers fan, you should meet my friend Aaron.
I think we actually had this conversation last time. I think this came up when you said you wanted to steal cosplay Primal.
Yeah, like you should see he's got like shelves upon shelves of the toys, and
Fucking cool.
It's just crazy because I used to have the OG toys because they were handed down from friends and family and cousins.
Do you like my brother?
And over the year, mum just kind of gets rid of them here and there. And then you see how much money they're worth even out of the box, and I'm just like, Jesus fucking Christ, that'd come in handy right now.
Think of my brothers, like the ones that my brother had, Bob, from the 80s
it's
and shit.
Unrelated, but there's an antique joint in Canberra, and I can't think of the name of them. It's obviously pretty easy for Jeff to get there, being in Goulburn, but they've just gotten they've got shelves upon shelves of the original 80s TMNT action figures, and I'm just like, holy shit.
Aren't they CCTV collectibles or something like that?
Yeah, they're just, it's ridiculous.
They're cool.
We could nerd out forever, but I'm gonna overtake here. And I'm just going to bring it back to wrestling because we're probably going to go back to cosplay and everything later. Oh, we will go back in cosplay, actually, because one of the questions, but I'm sure there'll be some random thing thrown in. But bring it back to wrestling, Jeff, just because, again, I'm ADHD as fuck, so this is just how I function. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. My daughter just got diagnosed with it.
Oh, wow, okay. It's I feel like it's a lot easier to deal with as an adult than it is as a kid. That's for sure. Because as a kid, I had a lot of behavioral issues, and they're just like, "Oh, he's a little shit." I'm like, "No, I'm trying to explain to you, and you're not fucking listening." But no, I feel like I love the photos that you've posted where she's playing with the Yu-Gi-Oh cards and stuff as well, and she's dressing up like dad, and I'm just like, oh my god.
Yeah, you ask her what she wants to do when she's older. She's like, I'm going to play Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
How cute.
She says that, and then if she's going to grow up, and then the day she beats Jeff in a duel, he's just going to be like, well, fuck. Just wipes away the single tear.
The student has now become the master.
Yeah, I can finally retire.
But what's your favorite wrestling match of all time? And again, you don't just have to say one, but both that you've seen on TV and in person. I know you've been to, again, a small few things, but
favorite wrestling match. Two of them are coming to mind. That would be CM Punk versus Darby Allin. I really liked that one from AEW.
See, I love that match, but I feel like that's
And
where Punk peaked in his AEW run, unfortunately.
and Stone Cold versus Kevin Owens.
Yes, dude. And I think that's a prime example, though,
Yes.
of the older generation of wrestlers who think with their brains compared to a lot of modern wrestlers. Because
Yeah.
literally, Stone Cold took 2 bumps in that whole match, and the only wrestling moves he did was he suplexed Owens twice. It was literally just a brawl. But because of both of their characters and everything that went along with it, it was like, the start to finish, it went for about, 18 minutes? And they literally just brawled around the whole arena. But
Yeah.
it was a Stone Cold match, 100%. It was fucking awesome. I remember watching that with Mrs Crossfire and literally jumping off the couch when they're like, get the damn referee out here. We're like, oh my God, because it had been rumored, but it's wrestling. Nothing's for sure until it's literally happening. And then now he's saying never say never. He always said he was done, he was retired, but KO's given him the bug. And I'm like, don't you tease us. A lot of people are speculating that he's going to help Cody against Rock, and I'm like, don't even put that out there, because now if it doesn't happen, I'm going to be like, worst WrestleMania ever.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. I want to see Cody Rhodes win. I want to see Cody finish his story. Because let's face it, if he doesn't do it this time, he's not getting a third chance.
We ranted enough about that yesterday with the episode that's going to drop tomorrow as we record this. I'm like, he needs to finish the story because it's gone on too long. But then it's like, if he does finish the story, where does it go from there? And it's like, oh, they've really put him in a bad place.
True, I never thought about that. Where's he going to go after this? Get the world title, unify them for what, the 5th time?
That wasn't even a pun intended, but he's literally between a rock and a hard place right now. But you've been to a handful of events. You actually went to the Hulkamania tour and stuff like that. So what are some of your favorite matches that stand out in person, if any?
Oh, in person. Probably when SmackDown came to for the very first time to Oz, me and Dad went, and I got to see Eddie Guerrero's match.
Hell yeah!
I think he was versing RVD back then, or he was tagging with RVD at that live event.
I know Nick Martino went to one, and he actually got to see Eddie Guerrero versus Kurt Angle, and I was just like, I hate you so much. Man, fuck.
Other one was it was also from that event, was John Cena versus Booker T in that Best of 5 series for the United States title.
Yeah, that's right, because they kind of they toyed with that on the live events as well. Fuck yeah, dude. They had a great rivalry.
The whole, yeah, and not only that, the whole arena for that live event got pissed because, Teddy Long told us who won the second match. And that episode of SmackDown didn't even air in Australia yet. So we all knew, Booker was winning that match.
Yeah, because they taped on the Tuesday back then. And it was just like, oh, yeah, it'll air this date.
Yeah, that's what, I still remember that because someone yelled out, we haven't seen that yet. And then you hear Teddy, oh, I'm sorry, player.
Player. Oh, that's great. That's almost like a Botchamania clip. I hope someone has footage of that somewhere. Oh, Jesus. Although in saying that, it's completely random, but myself and Mrs. Crossfire were literally laughing about similar to that a week or so ago, that when it was moved to Fridays from Thursdays in America, we were getting it before the US because it was taped. So literally they'd get it on what is, our Saturday, and we were getting it on our Friday the day before. And I remember posting stuff on Facebook, and at the time being part of all the groups, and all the American people are like, you're full of shit, it hasn't even happened yet. And I'm like, 1, it's taped. 2, time zones. We're like, wow, that segment was with Edge versus such and such was so good. And they're like, what the fuck are you talking about? And I'm like, I'm watching it right now. But man, I would give anything to be able to just build a time machine and just, doesn't even have to be a pay-per-view. It could just be a live event like that, just to see Eddie in person. Because my first live event wasn't until 2015. So fuck, literally all of my favorites I've missed out on seeing. Like randomly, when Hulk Hogan said the N-word and got cancelled for a year or two, they replaced him with Shawn Michaels, and I got to see him super kick Bo Dallas, which was pretty cool.
That would have
I'm
been
like,
bloody cool.
it's Shawn Michaels, and we all knew where it was going because they did the exact spot on all 4 nights, but it was still like, holy fuck. But man, I'm so jealous you got to see Eddie. That's so cool.
I'm jealous.
Unfortunately, back then I didn't get to meet any of them. We weren't exactly that good money-wise back then.
I reckon one of these days, if it falls on a weekend, you've got off, you need to try and make a trip up to Sydney for one of the World Series tours because they are phenomenal.
Yeah, well, me and the missus have been talking about doing that. It's just her work's pretty strict when it comes to time off and that, so she'll have problems getting the time off for it, where I'd just walk up to my boss and say, hey, I want to go to the wrestling on the Saturday, and she'd be like, yeah, no worries.
Because like it's so crazy, because one of my mates was telling me about some of the wrestlers that he's met, and I was like fucking blown away, because he's met like John Cena and the Hardys and like fucking just all of these like people that like are huge names. Like one of them's met Batista, and I was just like, fuck. I was like, I haven't met anyone cool. But then I sat there and thought about it, and I was like, wait, I've literally met Gunther when he was Walter. I've met Cody Rhodes, like the Young Bucks. I've met Ricochet. Like I've actually met quite a few people, like Jake the Snake Roberts. And then obviously Impact came, and we got to meet like a nice chunk of those. And I was like, oh, I actually have met some cool people, but he's met like the famous ones. And I'm like, fuck you. But no, the World Series are a great way to meet people, because you don't have to like pay for merch and stuff for all of them. Like half of them are just standing there. Like if you want to just walk up and say hello, shake their hand, like that's all free of charge. So like it's a pretty cool fucking
like setup.
Yeah.
Like,
and I met the Briscoe Bros because literally they were in the bar and they were walking in circles around the bar trying to find each other. And I was just like, bro, why did I pay for meet and greet? Like, it's like, have you seen Mark? Have you seen Jay? I'm like, he went that way. He went that way. And I was just like, what is happening with my life?
I'm just jealous because even you saying these names now, I'm like, fuck, I didn't get to meet any of these people.
Oh, I think the only real big name I've met was Hogan.
Yes, because you
that
did
still would have been so cool.
The thing with the whole command. Well, in saying that though, wasn't the Sydney leg of the tour the last date on that tour? Yeah,
it was the last date, and they taped it for Aussie TV and everything.
You witnessed Umaga's last match?
Yes, I did.
Oh, bro, that is so cool.
Before the untimely passing, just a couple of months later.
But yeah, no, I ended up meeting Hogan out of complete fluke.
Okay, so let's tell the story here of how you met Hulk Hogan. Why not?
All right, well, Hogan was more Dad's favourite wrestler.
Yeah, my dad was the same. I was a macho
man.
And,
Dad's the one that took me to all the wrestling events. So when I found out Hogan was coming, I wanted to take Dad. So this didn't make my mum very happy, but I blew all my car rego money on tickets, and I got him the ticket to, go meet him. So, after the show, while Dad's in there meeting him, I'm waiting outside for him, and then Hogan comes out with Dad because, Dad told him that, I'm guessing Dad told him that I'm the one that paid for the ticket for him to meet him, and then he gave me the armbands he used in with Ric Flair.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, yeah.
That's cool.
And I've still got those armbands.
That's fucking sick, though. Man, that's so cool. I never got to go to the wrestling with my dad, unfortunately, because the same as you, around the time of those events, like the 05, like 04, probably like 04 to like 06, 07, every year we had it teed up that we were going to go, and then like something had just come along, and it's usually something like that, like Car Rego or something, and it'd be like, well, all this money we had saved up for tickets is now going to something else. But man, cool.
my car rego went to that, and I couldn't drive my car for nearly 2 weeks, but it was worth it.
Just be like, hey Dad, I let you meet Hulk Hogan, so let me just borrow your car. Oh, dude, that's pretty cool though. Like, because like controversy aside, Hogan is his top 3 all-time names in the business.
Yeah,
like anyone,
that's huge.
You mentioned wrestling, Hulk Hogan's probably one of 3 names they'll spit out amongst Steve Austin or a John Cena, maybe The Rock. But we're in a generation where people go, "Oh, did you see The Rock made his wrestling debut, or Dwayne Johnson made his wrestling debut?" And it's like, you shut your mouth.
Mate, I saw that many years ago.
Like, there's a wrestler, I won't call her out on this pod because she gets enough shit for it, but she's in Melbourne, and they were talking about, The Rock versus John Cena and da-da-da-da, because it was probably 2 or 3 years ago they were having this conversation, but they were talking about the match they had in 2012, and then they're like, "Oh, once in a lifetime happened again." And she's kind of like, "Wait, you mean the guy from Jumanji?" And it's like, this is someone that's watched WWE on TV and had friends that were in the business and going, "Hey, I could do that." Like, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. Like, I'm not going to gatekeep shit. But she's come into the wrestling business like, "Oh, I've watched it on TV. That's cool. Like, I'm going to give this a shot." And then someone brings up The Rock and she's like, "Wait, he was a wrestler, the guy from Jumanji?" I'm just like, bro, that hurts. That hurts.
It's even worse because it's like, it's now Jumanji too. Like, it's not. So it's like, have you even seen the first Jumanji either? Like,
don't even.
You're living under a rock, kid.
Because like I haven't watched the second one because it just looks kind of meh. I enjoyed The Rock's take on Jumanji, but still, like, nothing will ever touch Robin Williams' Jumanji. But in a perfect world, Jeff, if you ever were to start training or had your training have gone further and yada, 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 if you could have a match with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be and what would the stipulation be?
I don't know, because there's not really anyone I'd like to have a match with. But if it did go off and I did get a career, I would be begging to have Stone Cold as my manager.
Hell yeah.
That'd be dope.
That would be so sick. Just have Stone Cold teach you the ways of just brawling and... Hell yeah, that'd be so sick. Well, it's funny.
But if I had to pick an opponent, it'd probably be Kurt Angle.
Oh, see, that's a good one.
Right, yeah.
That's a very good one. It's
like, I've always liked Kurt Angle and had a, respect for Kurt Angle. He's probably one of the best technical wrestlers in my opinion.
I've said this on every time Kurt Angle's brought up. I've said this, but just for the sake of it, I'm going to say it again because we're mentioning him and it's just a running gag at this point on the pod. But Dave Meltzer claims that Kurt Angle has never had a 5-star match. So,
fair enough.
Let that sink in for a second. Every time Kurt Angle is brought up, I bring that same thing up. And I'm just like, how has this... Like, Kurt's gotten like 4 stars, and I think he's bordered on 4.5 maybe with some of his matches with AJ Styles and that. But how is Kurt...
It's just wild.
It's Kurt Angle versus Shawn Michaels was a 5-star match. And then they had the Iron Man match, and it was a 5-star match. And then they had the rematch at Vengeance, and it was a 5-star... Like, how?
But to be fair, if Dave told me today was Friday, I'd have to check the calendar to make sure.
Absolutely. Like, 7.5 stars for Kenny Omega versus Okada, which is a great match, but you're saying that it's better than Rock and Austin and Shawn Michaels versus Taker, which got a 4.75 because it was too formulaic. And it's like, bro, if you've been watching wrestling for longer than 10 years, you're gonna be able to predict what's gonna happen. But anyway, Kurt Angle's never had a 5-star match, and because G-Mac brought him up, I'm just gonna put it out there on the pod again how much I think that's bullshit. But you mentioned Stone Cold being like your manager would be awesome. Usually I just leave the question there, but I actually did put in my notes because you mentioned in the last conversation that we had that, because I asked you like, hey, have you ever thought about getting back into training, this, that, whatever? And you said like at this point probably not, but you'd love to get in and do some sort of managerial role or general manager role or whatever, just because you want to kind of, I guess, flex your acting chops sort of thing. So if you were to be a manager for someone, and again, you can do a realistic one and then a dream one. If you could manage anyone, and I'm sure it's probably going to be either Stone Cold or Punk, but if you could manage anyone dead or alive, who would it be? But then on a more realistic one, if you look at current wrestling, if you were to be someone's manager, is there anyone you'd like to manage as well? So, yeah, two-part question.
Realistic-wise? realistic-wise, how about I come and be Rogue's manager?
I mean, look, if I get cleared, I can't stand at ringside all day.
I mean, that'd be more realistic.
G-Mac is going... I'll make the graphic. I don't care. G-Mac is going rogue.
As for any wrestler I could pick, that'd be a really tough one. Although now that Sting's retired, I think Darby Allin could use one.
Ooh. Hell yes.
That'd be cool.
I mean, look, you've already got like the trench coat and everything, so you could just repurpose it.
I mean, that's if he survives Mount Everest.
Well, he's actually had to put that off until next year now because he broke his arm or his foot or broke something in his match with Jay White, and it's fucked his timeline of him being able to do it because you can only do it at certain times of the year. So he's gonna have to try again next year now.
Fair enough.
But when Darby's broken limb of some description heals, I can't think of it off the top of my head, then hey Tony, give G-Mac a call and maybe I'll stop shitting on you and your Coke stash.
No, was it his
I think it was his foot.
Yeah, I was like, it's something to do with his foot.
But no, Tony Khan hires G-Mac. I'll stop being so hard on him on the podcast. They have such a great talented roster, and then Tony, stop being Tony, please.
Yeah, I got to admit, I've kind of lost interest in AEW.
And just like the press conferences themselves, like he just sits there nodding his head like a little kid, and then randomly someone will say something and he's like, "Hurrah!" like a big fucking coke outburst, and it's like, bro, like, can I just listen to what the talent has to say when they're answering questions, please?
It's like, yeah, Tony, just look, you reckon it. Be one of those silent investors where we don't see you, but you still give them money.
Like, because I watched Revolution for the simple fact that it was, Sting's last match and all that. But he came out and he's like, this is the greatest wrestling pay-per-view of all time. And I'm like, you're saying that it's better than WrestleMania 17, WrestleMania 18, 19, 20, 25. Like, even the non-WrestleMania pay-per-views, like some of the banger SummerSlams we've had, and even Elimination Chamber here in Perth, like it was very much a house show on steroids still to a little bit, but it was a solid show from start to finish. And Tony's like, this is the greatest thing ever. And even Sting was just standing there like, thank you so much, Tony, for this opportunity. And you can tell that, like, yeah, he's genuinely thanking him, but at the same time, he's like, let's just end this conversation.
Yeah, like, dude, you're being delusional. Stop. You're embarrassing yourself.
And then he sat down and he repeated it at the press conference and he's like, we've made so much money. That's the greatest wrestling match of all time. And again, I'm like, bro, Macho Man versus Ricky Steamboat. Like, Ric Flair versus Sting. Like, Sting versus the Young Bucks, I'm sorry, is not ever going to be in the conversation for greatest of all time. Great match, absolutely, but Jesus Christ.
Yeah, see, I know they didn't want to do it, but I reckon Sting's last match should have been versus Darby Allin.
I was really hoping, and again, this is like me just being a mark more than anything. The moment they announced that match, everyone's like, oh, well, Sting has to lose because you go out on your own back, which is the old adage for the most part. And he even said that, if you believe, Uncle Dave, the reports were Sting said, hey, I'm going to lose. And the Young Bucks were like, we ain't doing that because, we're EVPs, we're going to get accused of booking ourselves over and yada, yada, yada. I thought for sure you have them either A, lose the titles to piss Darby off, or have Sting get the win and Darby then still turn. I was hoping so hard that Darby was just going to crack the skateboard over him or the baseball bat or hit him with the title or something just to give Sting a reason to be like, you know what, this was going to be my last match, but fine. He's like, because it's the whole like, all you had to do was ask sort of thing. And now you've disrespected me by doing, like it's so cheesy, like cliche wrestling. But wrestling's always built on good guy versus bad guy. I was hoping so bad that match was going to end with Darby just going ham on Sting.
How I wanted them to do it was the whole Sting versus Darby. They put on a real good match. Darby somehow picks up the win. Sting raises his hand and then hands him the baseball bat.
See, even that
like a whole passing of the torch.
Sick. Like, and again, semi-predictable, but it's like wrestling's about moments. Like they're so worried about like trying to think outside the box these days because you got people like Dave Meltzer saying this was predictable and that. Daniel Bryan winning the world championship was predictable. Kofi Mania was predictable. Like Stone Cold and Kevin Owens was predictable, but it was one of those things where we didn't want to quite, it's like, oh, it's going to happen, but it's not going to happen. But
WWE's going to India. We better put the title on Jinder Mahal.
100%, dude. Like, it's just, there's nothing wrong with predictability. It's all about going along the journey. And like, I feel, obviously they've pivoted a little bit with this whole Rock and Roman thing, but Rock's been saying both on the shows and even out of character that no, shut up and just enjoy the ride we're taking you on and soak in the moments. And it's been fucking awesome. Like, Sting versus Darby should have happened. Regardless of how people feel about, Sting still wrestling in his 60s and some of the crazy bumps he was taking, or because I've got mates that they fucking hate AEW with a passion. And I've said multiple times on this podcast, even though there's been times where I've been critical of Tony Khan or the product, I've never shat on them for one. I'm like, no, they've got so much talent there, and I am a fan of the promotion. But I've got people that are like, no, fuck AEW. Like Sting deserves better, and da-da-da. I'm like, look, I love WWE, but Sting got fucked majorly in the WWE. Like Tony Khan.
Oh, he did.
Tony Khan gave Sting a platform to retire on his, his own merit, and it was fucking awesome. And the fact that they didn't do Sting versus Darby it just blows my mind. Like, I don't know whose decision that was, but anyway. Just G-Mac is going to get signed to AEW. That'd actually be a mad,
for sure.
It'd be a mad, gimmick, though, because I know, Xavier Woods does, the nerdy stuff, but, a Yu-Gi-Oh, duelist,
That'd be cool. Yeah.
It's just, as a manager, fucking puts down a trap card.
Well, you know Yugi's theme, The Passionate Duelist?
Yes.
I have been remixing that for if I ever do make my debut to wrestling.
Nice. Oh, man.
That's fucking sick.
That'd be so cool.
Oh, my God. But we'll switch away back from wrestling and we'll come back to the cosplay stuff. This is actually the last question I had written down, but well, as with the core five, as I've kind of put it together, I don't know how many interviews you have or haven't listened to, but I always end them now with a non-wrestling question, just kind of as a fun fact. And I know that, as we've said, you've kind of taken a little bit of a break, but obviously the Kamen Rider coming over is cool because that means Jeff's going to put that on and do some sort of cosplay. But if you could only do I misread my own question. If you could only cosplay one character for the rest of your life, who would it be? And why?
That's a good question.
Because I know that there's two that instantly, I associate you both now. Anytime I see anything Power Rangers, even though the original Red Ranger is my favorite, I instantly think of you and JDF, with the original Green Ranger. But then at the same time, it's this split-second thing where there's almost a Markapalooza battle of Green Ranger and Ghost Rider, because obviously your Ghost Rider, you've tweaked here and there over the years, and you've really turned that into something super fucking cool. And then obviously now you've got the Kamen Rider and you've done the captain and the Sentais and I don't even know what else at this point. I don't want to try and butcher their names, but you've done some pretty cool shit is the point. So if you had to narrow it down, gun to your head, you have to throw out all of your cosplay shit except for one suit. What is it?
That is a really tough one. Because, there's 3 suits that come to mind. Obviously, Ghost Rider, because everyone knows me for Ghost Rider. The other one would be Captain Marvelous, a.k.a. Gokai Red, because I just absolutely love that character. And I can't say I've officially met the actor, but we have talked over the net, and he's actually a really cool dude.
That's pretty cool.
Because I added him on Facebook because I found his Facebook page, and then I tagged him in my cosplay suit, and he thought it was absolutely great. He was sharing it all over his page, and oh, does this mean I'm going to hand the title over to Jeff? And that'd be really fucking cool. And then just out of the blue, because we're talking, and their 10th anniversary movie come out. And they're like, well, we can't exactly, bring you over for the premiere because, COVID. Here's the movie a week early. Just don't go posting it online.
That's pretty fucking
cool.
sick.
I'll take that.
That's so
and
sick.
to top it all off, he sends me the Memorial Morpher. So I've got the Gokaiger Memorial Morpher that makes all the sounds from the show, plays the theme song, and it's sitting in my trophy cabinet right next to my Gokai Red helmet.
That's cool.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, and all that because, I tagged him in one of my cosplays and he just thought it was absolutely brilliant.
But see, that's the positive side of cosplay and the positive side of social media is, and it seems to be a running theme on this pod lately. But the social networking from your respective group or niche or whatever.
Like if I had the money, I would love to go to Power Morphicon this year over in the States just so I could meet him in person.
Yeah, well, a lot of people say, "Oh, don't meet your heroes," but some people like that. It's just like that's fucking awesome. Like, what a mad dude.
That saying can be like, 50-50. Because when I met Jason Lee Scott and Walter Jones, the Red and Black Ranger, they were great.
Well, I was about to bring that up because you've met, obviously, Trin, passed away, so no one can meet her, but you've met a nice chunk of the OG Rangers.
Yeah.
And, like, you even said to me, like, I was like, fuck, I was so jealous. But I was the same. Like, I met Chris Sabat and Sean Schmel, obviously Goku and Vegeta. Sean... And a lot of people had said that, he's a little bit standoffish. And I met him and sure as shit, he was just kind of like, he was just there to get paid. Like, hi, I'm Goku.
Yeah.
But Christopher Sabat, dude, he fucking took me in and we had a conversation and my sister didn't even pay for a photo. But just because she was standing there, she's like, engage with her. Like, who's your favorite Dragon Ball? And we talked to him for about 5 minutes and the whole time Sean's just standing there just like nodding like, we've taken the photo. Why are we still standing here? Like, move on to the next one. And I was just like, dude, fuck. Like... As you said,
that was my
50-50.
That was my same experience with Jason Lee Scott, the Red Ranger, and because I brought up his time over in the military because I find all that stuff very interesting. And we sat there and we were talking about it to the point where the Supernova volunteer said, "Oi guys, you need to go. Other people are in line."
I mean, like, if the Supernova handler themselves are saying, like, hey, look, we need to keep it along, fair enough, but he was legit just like, we've taken the photo, next. And Chris is just like, no, like, we're in the middle of a fucking conversation.
Yeah.
Oh. Wow.
But yeah, and the other suit would probably be Mordo from Elder Scrolls.
See, and for me, that's... So despite the fact that I'm not super into Elder, my sister's fucking, well, I don't know if she still is, but she was obsessed with like Elder Scrolls and Skyrim and a bunch of she just loves like mythical stuff, as do I. But she's put I don't know how many hours of her life into Skyrim. But when I saw you do
hang on a minute. Currently in Elder Scrolls Online, I am sitting on 6,331 hours playtime.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think my sister was about 5,000 hours on Skyrim, so that's
but no, see, Mordo is a character that I made myself.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say, though. Like, of all of that stuff, that's probably, despite the fact that I'm not, like, as familiar with it, that's probably my personal favourite cosplay that you've done. And like the logo you did that you had on the shirt that you got made with the Mac Attack cosplay, and it was like almost the cartoonized version of you, like the photo, like from the photo that Gaming Zombies did. Shout out to them. Obviously, they did the original podcast logo here after me seeing that photo of you. But that's my favorite cosplay you've done. And see, every time you share stuff, like the fact that there was a little tease of him in one of the videos that they actually shared. Like he was just
I lost my shit when I saw that. I'm like, holy shit, that's me!
Like it's like, and the funny thing is, like, there was probably thousands, if like at least a few hundred, at least, of background characters like in the video. But the fact that you're like, oh my god, like that was your creation, and they've gone, this is what you can do. That popped me, and I was just like. To me, that was like watching like fucking Jeff literally be crowned like King of England or something. I was just like, oh my god, like my homie's shit got shared. Like that was the coolest. Like, that's fucking... And then, like, you did, like, the article and stuff, like, online about it. I'm like, no, that's probably, like, as much as I love, like, I'm partial to the Green Ranger because Mighty Morphin Power Rangers specifically is just, you know, I never really got into the other Power Rangers, like, series, but for some reason, as a kid, the Mighty Morphin one stuck, and it's gone into adulthood as well. And then, obviously, Ghost Rider being a massive Marvel buff, I loved, but the Mortomac and the effort and the time that you've gone into... It's because, like, obviously you've built the character around yourself, but then it's like now you're putting some of the character back into you, if that makes sense. And I'm like, that's so cool, man.
Yes,
so
and I
cool.
really need to shout out Wonder Commissions, who actually, you know, made that suit for me just from screenshots of the game.
That's awesome. That's
So,
pretty
yeah, they've taken screenshots of my character and have made it down to the T, right to the point where you can see some of the battle damage on the plates.
That's
like
insane.
they've literally put in the scratches from where I've been hit with a sword or something on the game. They've literally put that into the armor as well, and they have done a really good job. And, you know, if I ever do get the money to make Optimus Primal, they're the ones that are going to be doing it.
But again, networking, like... There is positives to the internet if you can somehow get away from all the toxicity of, you know, just the bullshit. Because, like, as you know, I've done probably 2 cosplays. I did, and they were both just different. They were different versions of just a generic fucking Pokemon trainer.
I don't really understand why there's, like, you know, the toxic nature in cosplay. I mean, we're fully grown adults dressing as fictional characters. Does it really matter how we do it?
Because, like, well, that's the thing for me. Like, when I went to Comic-Con, there was people that were basically being slut-shamed because they were doing, like, sexy versions of the character. To me, I'm like, if that's your interpretation of the character, like, if you want to do, say, like, a slutty Velma, hey, be a slutty Velma. That's cool. But then it's almost like, over the years, cosplay almost kind of devolved, and it was basically
really
like...
sexualized.
And it's basically, that became...
Yeah.
All it was. It's like, no, if you're not being a socially, you know, protective person and getting your tits out, you're not warranted, basically.
Yeah, no, unfortunately, that's what I don't like about the whole cosplay field. It's gone more into, you know, we're doing it for the love of it, to a right-up popularity contest where if you're not willing to show a bit of skin, you're not even going to get looked at for a convention anymore.
Well, because I've technically, sorry to cut you off, Nova Lee, Mrs Crossfire there, but... You obviously have gone with the Mortomac specifically. You had it commissioned, so although you didn't make it yourself, it's a custom made piece. It's this and that. I bought some of the Spider-Man Zentai suits back in the day. Obviously, you've got the Miles Morales one as well, which is fucking sick. The tracksuit, which we talked about on the last episode. But like, even just buying stuff like that, people go, "Oh, you bought that. You didn't make that, so it's not real cosplay." Like, motherfucker, if I cover my face up and I'm inside a Spider-Man suit, I'm fucking Spider-Man, and you can't tell me otherwise. Like,
yeah, well, that's another thing I didn't understand. Like with Mordo, for example, you know, the blood, sweat, and tears of someone making it went into it. Like, it was still made by someone. The only difference is someone else is wearing it.
And I did see that you were getting hate at some point, and I'm glad that it seemed to dwindle down. Where you were saying that people are going, "Oh, well, it doesn't count because it's not a real character." It's like, do you not, like, if it's a fictional character that you've taken the time to even just create on the video game, and now you've created the suit, it is a character. Like, how do you say it's not a real character when...
Okay, it's just not a character to them.
So,
like,
well,
like, you
like I said to them,
like,
all right, you don't think it's a character? Fine. But I got on Bethesda's radar for it, so your opinion don't mean shit.
And again,
it's more
maybe
just
it comes down to
jealousy.
That's what bothers me. And yeah. I use Spider-Man as the example just because, like, he's my favorite superhero, right? He is a fictional being, right? Created by Stan Lee and Marvel, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So he is fictional. Fictional means he does not exist. It is not in this actual timeline we're in. It's not a thing, right? So they're saying it's not a real, fake character. That in itself makes zero fucking sense.
Yeah. It kind of pisses me off in a way because you look at it too. You're like, who are you to say that like this person can't go and do like creative shit with the game or do different versions, interpretations of like what they see? It's kind of like an art form when you look at it.
She's
like,
probably never going to hear this conversation, but I'll shout her out. Brookie B. I used to follow her, and I met her at one of the things.
Oh yes, I know Brookie B. She's a really lovely girl.
She's a plus size cosplayer, and the amount of heat that she has gotten, and like straight up, and it's been public, and I guess people think that they can comment whatever they got a keyboard. She cosplayed as she's cosplayed as a lot of things, but she's done multiple versions of Ariel from The Little Mermaid. I think that's one of her favorite characters to kind of do, and she's done like 3 or 4 different takes on that one character. But she was cosplaying as Ariel, and she like had like the suit, and people were legit like, "Oh, you can't do that character."
Oh, Ariel's not plus size.
No,
Is that what she's getting?
I'll say it in the context because that's their words. They're like, "You can't cosplay a skinny character if you're fat." And then on the plus side of that, there's been characters that have been drawn heavy set, right? Where, for example, like anime characters, right, that are drawn with like curves and stuff. There's been skinny girls that have cosplayed, and they cop the same thing. Like, you got all the neck beards, like, oh, you don't feel that suit out enough to like wear. It's like, cosplay is cosplay. Like, if you, like, it's the same as like black versus white, like whatever. Like,
well, that's what I was gonna get at. You have a black Ariel now. It's happening in pop culture.
Obviously, I'm not gonna go do full blackface because I do understand the connotations of that and why it's wrong, right? But the black Green Lantern is my favorite Green Lantern. Now, all the Green Lanterns on their markings, they have slightly different things. You have to look for them, but the suits and stuff are slightly different. So I would wear that suit, and a lot of people on the surface would probably just go, oh, he's, Hal Jordan, Green Lantern. But to the one person that recognizes that it's technically that suit, it's going to go one of two ways. Well, they're either going to go, oh, fuck yeah, he's really cool, or, oh, you shouldn't do that because you're white. And I'm like, no, I find myself in this character. Like,
it'd be like Miles Morales, in a way.
Well, see, you get a free pass with Miles because you're completely covered, so they can't tell what colour you are under that suit.
That's true.
Imagine walking up to someone and being like, take off the suit. Like, but like, it's the same as the gender...
You don't have a black sounding voice. But
the gender bending of characters.
Yeah.
Again, I've seen so many people gatekeep that, and I'm just like, look, if there's like, because girls, if for example, like there's been like gender bent versions of like Shaggy and stuff, and people have done like male versions of Daphne and Velma. To me, I'm like, that's cool. That's creative license. Like, for example, Spider-Gwen, right? I fucking love Spider-Gwen. Like, if I could find like a male tailored version of that suit to where that didn't look like I had actual boobs and I could cover up, the bulge down below, I'd rock that. Because who gives a fuck? Like,
you'll see, I went to a cosplay competition back in...
Jeff's just entered our, like, rant now.
14. And then it was, like, a little bit toxic, but it wasn't too bad at that competition to say. Like, some people would just rock up. There was a chick that dressed up as Ellie from fucking... what's the name of the game? Fucking Last of Us. Elle? Is that her name? I can't remember
Something
her name.
Like that,
yeah, from Last of Us. And it was literally just like generic shit that she's just got from like Kmart, Big W, and just put on, and that was her cosplay. And I was like, that's fucking cool. Like, she's got courage to get up there and even do it. I'm like, that's fucking awesome. And I was like, everyone was like clapping and shit. And I'm like, this is cool. And then you look at it now, it's so toxic. It's just shit.
I keep using Scooby-Doo as an example, but obviously this is an audio-only podcast. The reason I keep using that as an example is because I'm wearing a Scooby-Doo t-shirt currently, right? If I wanted to go to like a Kmart or a Big W or even just go to an op shop and get a green polo shirt and some brown I have brown hair. I can say I'm Shaggy, right? And people are like, oh, because you've just... Like, fuck you, I'm Shaggy. Like... Oh.
Well, that's all my Ghost Rider outfit is. It's my old motorcycle leathers with a few gothic spikes, a black t-shirt, black jeans, and my old work boots. And one of those chains you can buy from Bunnings.
That's mean. How cool is that? Like, you found a creative way and a cost-effective way. It doesn't have to be fucking expensive. Like, people that can't afford to make expensive costumes, Like, what, are they not allowed to have fun? Like, that's what pisses me off. You know.
We were watching a reality show. I can't remember what it was because we've just watched so many random shit. But they were like, oh, they were doing LARPing, right? And then they were talking, and this girl's like, oh, you know, I bought this costume from here, and da-da-da-da. And they're like, okay, like, whatever. But then someone was like, oh, I made such and such. And they're like, but you used this material. This material wasn't... And I'm like, fuck's sake. Like... Unless you're like feeling them up from head to toe and touching like what they're wearing, you can't tell what the material is for the most part. Like,
well, let's put it this way: if I was to use materials that were around in the medieval times where Elder Scrolls is set, they wouldn't even let me into the Comic-Con.
Yeah, exactly.
Like they're not going to let me walk in full bloody chainmail armor and.
It's just... I wasn't even intending to go on a rant. I just wanted to say, hey, if you could pick one character, we nailed it down to 2 at least, or technically 3 with Mordo Mac, but we've just gone on this...
It's mainly it's just something that just irks me. Like, people
but it really
like
does,
that.
though, because like,
I'm not even part of the scene.
Even
it's
from
just
the
more like
outside
as a spectator.
looking in,
Despite
despite the fact that I only see Jeff
fair.
like once every couple of years because just it's life and we're adults and we got shit to do. I follow all of his social medias and especially the cosplay stuff. I've watched how much work and how much money or how hard he's worked in his day job and money to put into this work, even for the ones like that other people have made. And all the time and effort and like people just go, no, it has to be this or it has to be that.
Stupid. And like,
I've unfollowed so many cosplayers that I used to follow like hundreds of them. And I've unfollowed so many of them just because all the toxic shit. I'm like, bro, because like I still have, and I've shared the list a few times. There's a nice handful of characters that I want to do, and the funny thing is, one would actually be awesome because I know Jeff, one you did was Moon Knight in like the actual battle suit. I want the casual one that has like the dress suit bit before it like transforms. Yeah. Like, I want a cosplay that's so bad. I don't know what it is. It just draws me in. I'm like, that'd be awesome. Like,
that,
he could stand behind me.
Old Egyptian. You like old Egyptian fucking, like, stuff, so it makes sense.
But again, I'd probably, like, stuff like that I could buy, and because I haven't made it, people would be like, nah. Like, fuck off.
You know what? I'm enjoying myself. Fuck you.
It's just...
That's what's turned me off doing one of the cosplays. Like, I could do this cosplay at a Yu-Gi-Oh event, and everyone would think it's sick. But if I took it to a Comic-Con, they're like, oh, dude, you're just wearing a black shirt and a red jacket.
Fuck yeah.
Like, I was going to do Jaden Yuki.
Yes. I'm trying to think of the name, but like Dark Jaden or whatever with like the headgear and shit. Like that, I could see you pulling that off as well.
Well, everybody down at bloody Locals reckons I'm exactly like Jaden.
Well, as I said to you in the last podcast episode we did, I always, and again, maybe it's just because I was such a big fan of the anime as a kid, and I still am. We're literally in the middle of a rewatch right now because I want to get into some of the newer series with the new cards because some of them are fucking cool. But like, I always, even in high school, to me, you were like Seto Kaiba. Because like, there was just this band of like misfits, essentially, right? We're all a bunch of fucking nerds sitting in the corner in the library playing Yu-Gi-Oh! And you'd have like the jocks would come in and they'd try and make fun of us. Jeff wouldn't even have to do anything. He'd literally just stand up and be like, let's fucking go then. And they'd run off. And it literally just reminds me every time of fucking Seto Kaiba coming in to save Mokuba. I'm like, and I said that to Jeff and he said, surprisingly, no one had made that comparison. But to me, Jeff, in my eyes, was Kaiba. And I think it's because Blue Eyes was like the shit, like for like our generation. And then, like, obviously now he's gone to the Heroes of Jaden. But I always really put Jeff... In my mind, Jeff was Kaiba. Like, he was the head of fucking Kaiba Court.
I can see like, that, though. Man. Like, now you're like, saying that. Like,
I'm like, I could see him, like... Obviously, he'd have to probably either do temporary hair dye or wear a wig because Kaiba had brown hair. But I'm like, I could see Jeff because with the big jacket and stuff that he uses for even Ghost Rider and that, I could see him chucking on, like, a big white version of that.
Well, speaking of that... the group that made Mordo's suit, they actually made a Seto Kaiba suit and it lights up and everything. It looks really good.
Cool.
So if you ever get on Instagram later, go to their page, scroll through it, you'll find it. It looks sick.
That's cool.
I'm literally gonna go to their page as we're talking because I'm like, I think I followed them, but I can't remember. Wanda Creation.
It's pretty funny, like we're like on this topic. Like I know it's like because that's your thing, Jeff, but it's kind of like
get Jeff to send me the fucking link. There's so many people with similar names.
yeah, but it kind of
I'm looking for it now for you.
See, it feeds into wrestling when you look at it because it's like characteristics and stuff's a big part of it. It's the same as like characters. You're playing a character, so you've got to have the characteristics, of like the person that you're playing. So it's like I can see that you've got like being Kaiba. That makes sense.
It has to be done this way and that way. Shut the fuck up.
You kind of think about it too with wrestling the way it is at the moment. Sometimes some like wrestling characters that people are portraying, they're making fun of their costumes, like and their get up, their gear. And it's like, oh, because they didn't buy it from like this proper gear maker and they've bodgily just made it up at home, they're copying shit. So it's like similar toxic shit is flowing into theirs.
I do get it to an extent of someone that's untrained can jump online and buy a set of tights.
Yeah,
but when they go, oh, you don't have custom made gear, so
yeah,
you're
that's
not
what
worthy.
Pisses me off. And I was like,
the fuck up.
And I was like, what if they customized it themselves? Like, does it really matter that they pay someone like exorbitant amounts to do it?
Like I paid like $15 for an Asian sized fucking leather jacket, so it's a 4X.
Yeah.
Oh, not leather jacket, denim jacket. Where myself and Mrs Crossfire literally bought a can of spray paint. What are words? # buy the t-shirt. That's actually on the store now. And I literally just spray painted the back of it, and then once it dried, you got one of your brushes and just kind of touched it up.
Yeah.
And it looks like I've had it custom made. And the funny thing is, when people ask me about it, I literally go, no, I did that myself. And the amount of people that are shocked by that, it's a compliment in some ways, but at the same time, it's like, just the gatekeeping, it's an outfit. Like
I hate it.
I feel like we're ranting too much. I'm so sorry, Jeff. The question was not meant to devolve into that. I was just like, I was trying to think of a quick, because I always try and tailor it specifically to the individual, and I'm like, I need to kind of, I was like, I wanted to try and stump you, right? Wanda Commission, excellent. I just followed them, and that Kaiba jacket looks sick.
That's both of the ones they made, like the TV show and then the Dark Side of Dimension movie.
That is sick. Yes. I love that. That's fucking talent. That's awesome.
But do you have anything you need to like plug or anything while you're here, Jeff? I know you mentioned your Yu-Gi-Oh store earlier. Obviously, I think we should give them a shout out because, as I said to you, when I am in Goulburn, I will bring my deck just in case. I'll probably get destroyed even with my Glad Beast, but that's okay.
Oh, yeah, well, if you're ever in Goulburn, do go see Michelle. Do go see Michelle at Priority Games. They are really, really good.
Yeah, because I was thinking Goulburn Games, and I'm like, that's not right. That's someone else.
Yeah, no, that's someone else, and yeah, unless you're into Warhammer, it's everything else kind of got pushed to a back seat.
Yes, I've noticed that even on some of the socials and stuff. But yes, Priority Games, make it a priority.
Definitely make it a priority to go see Priority Games.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Actually, you know what? I might pitch that to her. That could be a good slogan for the shop.
I mean, look, I'm not the best, but I can make a sneaky logo.
Networking, am I right?
If you did that and sent it to her, I reckon she'd like it.
But I believe you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but it's every Friday from 6 p.m. It's a $10.
Yeah, every Friday, 6 p.m. Yeah, they also do other things like magic. They're thinking about taking up
ones because
I'm not very big on Magic the Gathering. They're also doing stuff like Card 5 Vanguard and Pokemon, and they're more of a like card focused shop more than a miniatures shop.
Well, they all seem lovely because Jeff's added me to their group chat.
Oh, cool!
And I'm like, literally every day, it's like every Friday, like literally this morning, Shaman, shout out, cousin, was like, actually, I think it was last night, was like, who's dueling tomorrow? And I was just like, I'll be dueling in spirit. And I just kind of read the message and was like, huh. Literally every Friday, I'm like, son of a bitch.
You'll be dueling on your little your game on your laptop.
I play, because Duel Links, obviously. We can get Master Duel as well, but it's too competitive. I'm as I said, I'm nowhere on Jeff's level. I will never be on Jeff's level, but I love just opening Duel Links on my laptop screen just because it's a bigger screen, and just a lot of the time I'm auto dueling, but to me, and I don't know if Jeff, you're the same, obviously you've played competitive, but to me, the fun part, I can sit there for like 5 hours just building different decks and different archetypes, and I think that's why I like Duel Links so much, is because you're playing as the actual characters. So it's like, oh yeah, you can do the preset deck, but then it's like, add this, take out that. Like, I never thought I'd build a plant type deck, and then like I spent 2 hours perfecting the plant type deck the other day, and I was just like, what is my life?
I'm a bit different on that take, because I build decks, basically based on me. So my Earth Machine deck is because, that's the deck that took me up to the top, the Mechana Gadgets. And with the new support that come out, I can play Mechana Fortress again, so that's why I built that deck. The Rescue Aces, I have a big history as a firefighter, so that's why I built them. And the Heroes, they were left to me by a friend when he passed away, so that's the whole reason why I've been keeping them up to date. And
yeah, I think we did mention that on the last one as well, but as we always say, rest in peace, Rami. Like, that's fucking... And again, everyone says, like, I know, again, that's something else that you do get flack for, and you've reached a point where you're able to laugh it off, which I think is awesome for you. But it's like, oh, the card games are for kids and the this and the that. I'm like, that to me, it's like an old football player or a baseball player or someone leaving behind, like, their boots or their mitt, like, that's fucking cool to me. And, like, I hope that, like, eventually, like, I have I don't know how, I've probably got 200-300 wrestling action figures, right? Like, all from when I was a kid. I've got every single one, even the broken ones. I've still got the pieces in a box somewhere. And it's so silly, but I'm like, when, if I pass away, I'm like, that's the shit. Like, I want to leave that to my kids and stuff. And to me, that's the same thing with the card game. Like, you found something and you connected with it. And again, the friendships that you've built on that, the bonds, you can't shit on that. Like,
and that's what people don't understand. Is like, just because you're in your 30s or your 40s doesn't mean you can't have a hobby anymore, even the childish ones.
Like, I copped it really bad for playing Pokemon. And I'm like, bro, like, they started making these games when I was, 4 or 5 years old. I'm like, they're making these for me. That's why the number's so fucking high now. Because it's almost like new Pokemon. It's like, you've already got the other one, so here's more. And then you've caught those ones, so a few years later, here's more.
No, I still play Pokemon.
100%, man. Yeah. Like, I don't have them yet, but I got a Switch probably about 6-7 months ago now. I still haven't got them yet just because of medical bills. But Scarlet and Violet, I want both of them. I'm like, Mrs Crossfire can have Violet, I can have Scarlet.
Yeah.
Like, I've watched so many videos of gameplay from that, and I'm like, honestly, just looking at them, I'm like, that's the best Pokemon game ever. Especially like just the graphics alone for a Pokemon game, considering where we started, is insane.
I don't know. For me, it was Sword and Shield.
See, I'd never played those ones, but...
Well, it was Sword and Shield that got me back into Pokemon.
I'm still biased to Ruby, and of course they did the Omega Ruby, which regretfully had to sell because of medical bills. But I'm sure one day I'll get another copy of it.
Oh, if we're going like that, well, it's definitely Pokemon Blue for me. That was my first Pokemon game.
First Pokemon game as well.
You know what mine was? Pokemon Yellow.
I had Pokemon. I actually found my Game Boy. Remember, it's in the box. To this day, I still never beaten the Elite Four on Pokemon Yellow. Now, maybe I should make that a quest when my eyes healed enough because that's a fucking tiny ass screen. I'm gonna make that a mission to finally beat the Elite Four in Pokemon Yellow. I shit you not. Meanwhile, in Pokemon Blue, I've had about 20 different save files, and I've probably beat the Elite Four 70 different times on all of them. But yeah, I just enjoy, and as I said, we don't see each other very often, but we check in on each other every now and then. I just love seeing you've got a little one now. You've got a new partner. You're loving life, and well, not new partner, but you've been together for a while now, but you're engaged.
Yeah,
and it's
funny enough, on the first one I mentioned how we were just friends and that, and now here we are on the other one, and we're actually fucking engaged.
Like, but that's what I mean. Though, like you're winning at life, dude. You're 100%, and I'm cheering for you, and it's so cool, and I love seeing like just the little snippets you put up of the Yu-Gi-Oh and the little bits of cosplay that you still do share, and I'm just like, the amount of stupid questions I've sent you and will probably continue to send, just because, man, so much has changed. Like, I just take me back to Battle City with the tributes and.
Yes.
Like, I feel like I've half-assed chance, even with like some of like the GX stuff, but once they brought in like the XYZs and the Link summons and stuff, it's just
Yeah, I'm like, that's over my head.
like Mrs Crossfire actually has Link monsters in her Harpies deck, and I'm like, I feel like that's gonna screw me.
Or is it going to screw me? Because, I know a little bit, but I was like, it starts getting complicated. I'm like, fuck, I don't know what I'm doing.
No, do you have anything coming up, Jeff? Because this will jump on, what's the day? Let me look. I'm going to look on the calendar while we're on this. So this will drop on the 28th of April. So do you have anything coming up that you like need to plug or anything like that before we plug the socials? And
Nothing I can really think of. Like, I had YCS, but that's been and gone. I know. I think there's a regionals in Canberra.
I wonder if I can make it to that as a spectator, because Canberra is a lot easier to get to than Goulburn, which is annoying because obviously. Yeah, so
was it the regionals or was it a release event?
I think that's another reason why Martino's getting into it as well, though, because I think he kind of got back into it and he was like just looking around, and I think he's seen how many like things they do for it in Canberra now, and he's like, oh, my fellow people.
Yeah.
Because again, like he's a big burly man, but yeah, he likes playing children's card games. Fucking sue me, like. Let's go.
Pisses me off that people judge, like, who fucking cares?
Send him me socials and get him to reach out.
Yeah, well, like,
100%.
If people are happy, who gives a fuck? Like, that's how I see it. Like,
but where can we find you on social media, Jeff? Is it just the Instagram page or?
Yeah, just Instagram. I mean, it's the only one I've got time to actually keep up with.
So I believe that's at GMAC316.
Yeah, at the GMAC316.
The GMAC316.
Yeah, well, somebody took GMAC316, so I thought, oh, well, I'll do like what Randy Orton and all that done on their Twitter, how they put the in front of it.
He's the
like the G-Mac. Randy Orton, and
I think I said it again. I think I said it last time. But the photo you took at Yas Macca's, because they've got the big thing on the wall that says Big Mac. So you just took a photo in front of it, but you've like cropped it so it says G-Mac.
Yeah.
It's like Photoshop in real life. But no, I appreciate you jumping on again, man. And as I said, like we've been trying to do this for a while, and I keep telling you I'm going to have you back on, and it just...
life just gets in the way.
Life has been so fucking hectic these last 2 years, and the last few months have been... Honestly, they've been a little scary. They're like, oh, you could still go blind. And I was like, well, fuck, but they've fixed it. So hopefully next time I do see you, I'll actually be able to see you better than I've ever saw you, because Lord knows I was blind in high school, and a lot of people don't realize that until I actually go, no, it's just, this is the thing that I've been dealing with my whole fucking life. But no, I want to sit down and I want to have a duel. And as I said, you'll probably destroy me, because you even just said yourself earlier, you don't hold back. But no, I remember... it was a bit sad, but at his grandfather's funeral, as I said, he's my cousin, Shaman, but we were just reflecting. We sat there, and we're just laughing about, like, the hours upon hours we have... we don't want to say, like, wasted, but the hours upon hours we spent dueling as kids and shit. I'm like, man... back when we were kids and we literally just threw every card we had in a deck and hoped for the best... I was like, I want a rematch with Shaman, because more often than not, he was laughing. He was telling his friend Sam that he used to get the shits because more often than not, I'd actually beat him. And I'm like, well, now that I actually know what's going on, I want to see if I can beat him again.
Oh, we have a running gag with Shaman down at the local shop. He is Goulburn's best Yu-Gi-Oh player.
I love the little the picture you made of that. It's literally just the plain white background.
He wants that on a t-shirt. So once he gives me the money, I've got it all ready to go. So once he gets me the money, I'm going to get the group that does my T-shirts to print it off for him.
Yes.
It's got him on the front going, Goldman's best Yu-Gi-Oh player, and then on the back it says, see you at table 500.
That's a running gag in the group chat as well. And I'm just like, I will not see you guys anywhere.
Yeah, well, one day, he really got really upset. And he said, well, I'm Goldman's best anyway, so we just haven't let him live it down ever since.
Well, actually, I take that back because on the 25th, which is Anzac Day, it's my dad's birthday, I'm actually going to be coming up to Goulburn on the Wednesday and leaving on the Saturday morning. So before this episode goes out, I might actually be at that Priority Games on Friday the 26th of April. So fucking
gotta make it a priority.
Fingers crossed for that. Again, I'll bring my Glad Beast and probably get wrecked because I can only read half the cards, but
nice, because I go on holidays on the 15th.
So
and I'm off work for like 2 weeks after that.
So hopefully by the time this drops on the Sunday, we've actually caught up and yeah. But fucking, I just like being surrounded by nerdy shit and nerdy people and fucking.
Well, you'll love the little Yu-Gi-Oh community I've managed to build down there.
It was funny because like half the people, like there's a nice chunk of people in the group chat. Like I don't know if they remember me, but like I actually know a chunk of them from like way back when I was a kid. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, man, thanks for jumping on. We've just under an hour and a half, so I'll let you go because I know you've got a few errands to run in the next hour and a half or so. So I'll let you wind down and enjoy your day off, and hopefully your game finishes downloading. Hopefully you can sneak in a game before you gotta go. Do what you gotta do. But thanks for jumping on, brother.
Yeah, it was good meeting
it's
you,
all
mate.
good anytime.
Yeah,
well, hopefully I'll meet you in person, Mrs Crossfire.
Yeah, at some point.
Yeah, we're not sure if she's going to be coming on this next trip just because it is short notice, and I'm just trying to basically.
Oh, if she does, we'll have to hit up like a double date. Me, Kat, you, and Miss Crossfire.
Maybe I can con her into bringing her Harpies deck and see how we go.
Oh God, I'd get total.
Hey, look, $10 a head. Why not?
Well, Well, I highly suggest versing someone like Shaman because, yeah, you verse me, you probably will never play ever again.
I can't verse him. He's Goulburn's biased.
Imagine what that's going to do for my ego, though, if Shaman beats me and then Mrs Crossfire just goes boom and fucking demolishes him. But no, I'll talk to you later.
We'll be sitting there doing our plays and we'll be like, oh, so when's it my turn? No, you've already lost.
You're out now.
Oh, fuck. But no, I appreciate you jumping on, man. We'll probably do it again at some point when you've got more stuff to promote and even just shoot the shit. I know that we want to still do tomorrow as we record this, the Wrestlers versus Disney's dropping. I know I still want to do the Wrestlers versus Fictional Characters 2, or Mrs. Crossfire actually said one last night
like
that she wants to do, where it's specifically Wrestlers versus anime. And I'm like, that could be a good one, but... Yeah, we'll definitely.
Yeah, actually, that would be a good one.
Some sort of Markapalooza with you. Like, if you got any ideas on like specific topics, hit me up. But no, I still want to do some sort of wrestlers versus fictional characters with you because I know that you'll just enjoy just nerding out with me and the wrestling fan, and you just we can just go stupid with it and probably take an hour and a half, 2 hours to do the episode. But
speaking of wrestling versus anime, I highly suggest you look up the anime Ultimate Muscle.
Muscle. Is that on like Crunchyroll or anything like that?
It's a very old anime, but it's based on the WWE.
Right. Okay.
So you've got a character there. Cool. He's called Kevin Mask.
Is that like a rip
that's
off?
Not
of
a pun to. That's not a pun to Kevin Nash. No, but that's a pun to Kevin Nash.
Yes, okay,
and then
that makes sense.
The main character uses a move called the Stone Cold Steiner.
It's like a double reference. Stone Cold Stunner, Scott Steiner, Rick Steiner.
Yeah, it's literally based on the WWE. I used to watch it a lot as a kid. I'm rewatching it at the moment. It's a really great anime.
2002 it came out.
Holy.
Yeah. Wow. And it's getting it's getting a new series for its 40th year anniversary.
Wow.
That you've just
cool. I like the way they're drawn too.
Ultimate Muscle.
I've literally got it on my phone.
Thank you. Send that to me so I don't forget. But no, I'll let you go, Jeff. And yeah, just as I said, we'll work it out. But always a pleasure talking to you. Hopefully by the time this is out, I've seen you in person. But I just appreciate you, brother, and keep killing it at life.
It's all good. I'll catch you later.
See you later, mate.
See ya.
See ya.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was G-Mac. And now, as we mentioned in this conversation, obviously, you know, my dad's birthday is coming up on April 25th. By the time, you know, this episode comes out, it's coming out on the 20th of April. I have booked my ticket to Goulburn to see family and yada, yada, yada. Mrs Crossfire is staying home, but I have booked to stay for an extra day, and I fully intend to, as I said to Jeff in this conversation, depends on how my eyes feel. I'm going to pack my Gladiator Beast deck and see how it goes. Try it out for the very first time. I'm probably going to get fucking destroyed. Hopefully I've got a spare $10, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But by this point, I'm going to say it was great catching up with Jeff, and I can't wait to do it again. But no, I wanted to just get this in the can so it was ready. But yeah, hopefully I've seen Jeff by the time that by the time this episode has come out. But Mrs. Crossfire, you've never met G-Mac, and you thoroughly enjoyed this conversation and nerding out because
I was a little Yu-Gi-Oh!
You're my
Mark.
people. Like, I don't know how I found this
nerd.
woman that likes Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! And a little bit of doesn't love Digimon as much as I did as a kid, but still appreciates it. But
I did like Digimon.
Going from having ex-girlfriends that made fun of me for watching professional wrestling and this, that, and the third callback to the DPC episode from 2 weeks ago, you and I watch just about every fucking sport there is imaginable nowadays. And we're talking about this with Atticus Slane when we went to the Eels-Raiders game a few weeks ago, and like Australian, like, got you into AFL now. NRL's an obvious one, but the NFL, we've been watching the ice hockey, and now we've got into the Australian ice hockey. We've watched, you know, different versions of basketball in Australia and America, and now the baseball. Like, I don't know how I found you, and the fact that you love like anime and just nerdy shit on top of that, but wrestling especially, like doing this podcast with me is mind-boggling. But what did you think? What did you think, Mrs. Crossfire, Miss Novalee?
All I can say about that is just thank my dad, my brothers, because they got me into like my sports, and they got me into like my Yu-Gi-Oh, got me into like nerdy stuff in general.
Semi-related though, I've got to work it out because I did just get charged by Funimation. I think it is for this month going forward, but I need to double check that I don't get double charged now that it has rolled over to Crunchyroll. But I have merged my account, and Crunchyroll have different censor laws to Funimation. Funimation, the Australian version, banned Dragon Ball because of, like, you know, especially the 80s one. There's a lot of stuff that you look at it and you're like, fuck. It's all there. It's on Crunchyroll, and it's literally on my continue watching now. It's up. It's kept where I was up to. It's there.
Wait.
It's there.
Does it have separate accounts? Because I haven't used Crunchyroll.
It does not have separate accounts,
Fuck.
but I know there is a few things you want to watch. I know you mentioned actually, and Jeff will appreciate this because we talked about it in the first one. His car is actually a Red 86. He had the old one. Now he's got the new one. It's called the Akagi's Red Sun, which of course is a reference to Akagi's Red Sun, the team in Initial D.
Yes.
So I have 7 episodes left on the very last season. I literally started watching it when I first interviewed Jeff 2 years ago, and I take life, health. I got 7 episodes left on the last season, and so when I finish that, I know you mentioned to me yesterday off air that you wanted to rewatch it. It's there. You can go for gold. But no, we'll just have to work out around it because there's a few shows that I do want to watch, and there's some maybe you can watch together. But we'll work it out. But I'm so fucking keen to get back into watching Dragon Ball because I have not watched Super. I've seen some spoilers here and there over the years, but the good thing is because of ADHD, I've forgotten a lot of them, but I haven't actually watched it properly. But I'm rewatching from Dragon Ball all the way up to the Z series, including I've got the timeline of where the movies fit in as well, all the way to GT. I've discussed this with Jay Gibson. People shit on GT. I fucking loved GT.
See,
Gogeta is the shit.
it makes me sad because I was like, fuck, I wish I watched it with you now because now I've like been getting in the mood and been wanting to watch Dragon Ball because I've watched bits of it on Cheese TV
you probably could
as a kid.
jump in where I'm at because I'm watching the original Dragon Ball series. So
That's
when
what
I
wanna
when
watch.
I get but I'm
But
like
I want to watch the movies and stuff too because I've never actually seen.
I'm about 20
the
episodes
movies.
into season 1, so you could probably still tune
dude.
in where you're at. Like,
Yeah. Okay. Fair.
Like, and especially like we're nowhere near the Z series just yet. Like, and then the first movie doesn't come in until so you watch the entire Dragon Ball series in its entirety, then you have the first movie, and then you get to the Z series, and then it's like random episodes here and there, and like season whatever. There's this and this and this. But no, you can literally tune in with me if you like.
Yeah, because I
just
only
means
seen...
that it's going to take me even longer to finish watching it now. But if we start watching it properly, then
it's mainly because
same as Yu-Gi-Oh though. We started watching
to...
that and then you tuned out. So now I'm just like I'm watching it by myself. Fuck it.
It's fine. It's because I've seen it like 20 million times.
Yeah, once we get to the movie and then the next season, we're gonna have to reevaluate and bring you back in.
Cheese TV introduced me to all that.
But yeah, I appreciate Jeff for jumping on again. As I said, I don't want this to go too long because
sorry for the rant.
The DPC episode is now going to go for just over 3 hours or just on. Yeah, I think it was just over 3 hours.
Yeah.
The Derek episode's about 2.5 hours, so we'll keep this one at just on an hour and a half. A little bit over with obviously this intro and outro, but no, I appreciate Jeff jumping on. Love talking to him. I love, like as I said, he's my people.
Kind of getting to meet him.
I'm just a fucking nerd, and hopefully one of these days we can organise for Mrs Crossfire to come along to one of these trips with me, or if Jeff comes to like a geek markets or something in Canberra, or even GammaCon's coming here to, you know, we're not actually in Wagga, we're just outside of Wagga, but Gamma's coming to Wagga, so depending on the dates and stuff, I know that World Series is in June, so if it doesn't clash with that, we could potentially meet up at Gamma if it falls at Jeff's day off or whatever. But yeah, Mr. Crossfire, if you want to hit us with the song of the match of the week again, and we can plug the links and get out of here and yada 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 yada.
So the song
extra yadas just for the sake of it.
Yes. The song of the week was "Return of the Mac." Guess again, "Return of the Mac" by Mac Morrison. Oh, Mark Morrison. Mac Morrison. Mark Morrison. Return of the Mac. Return of the Mac by Mark Morrison. Jesus Christ, it's too late at night. It's nearly like midnight. But anyway.
It's 11:35 p.m. as we're recording this on Friday. Oh, sorry, for Friday? Wednesday, April the 10th. Jesus fucking
We're
Christ.
Fucked, fam.
I'm sorry.
Already. And going back to the
I'm glad
match
we're doing
of the
this
week.
in the outro, though, not the intro. Jesus Christ.
Going back to, we seem so put together in the intro. Anyway,
professional.
Going back to the match of the week. The match of the week is Steve Austin versus Kevin Owens. You're welcome. I picked it. WrestleMania 38.
Honestly, though, it's WrestleMania season as we're doing it. Perfect. To me, WrestleMania is not over until SmackDown this week because it's the SmackDown after Mania.
It's not over to me, damn it.
Jesus Christ. Jackson Thornhill messaged the Road group chat the day after night 2. He's like, so what did y'all think of WrestleMania weekend now that it's over? And my response was, you watch your whole mouth because Raw After Mania hasn't happened yet. Now, while Raw After Mania was a little bit underwhelming compared to previous ones, it was still a solid show all around. We got Ilya and Roxanne getting called up. John Cena, R-Truth got the team with his childhood hero. And that means that John Cena now officially, even though it was just basically a run-in because he came in, tag, 5 moves to do and finisher, John Cena has now wrestled a match every year since his debut in 2002 to 2004. That's a 22-year stretch of wrestles, even though he only wrestled, I think it was like the New Year's Eve episode of fucking SmackDown in like 2023. Oh, no, 2022, I think it was. He did like one tag match just to get it in there still to keep the 20-year streak going. Then obviously 2023 he wrestled solo in Saudi and whatever. Or was it? No, it was last year because we're only in April. But yeah, good times, good conversation. The links for GMAX Instagram will be there. Go follow him. I might even though they're probably never ever going to see this. See or hear, or should say hear this episode. Wanda Commissions, who made GMAX stuff, and the Kaiba suit that was mentioned in the conversation that I literally looked at as, like, Jeff sent it to me as we were having the conversation. That's why I love the power of social media. He was like, hey, he's 2.5 hours away, but here's this thing that I'm trying to describe to you, and shows me a photo, and then I hand the phone to Mrs. Crossfire, and she's like, fuck, that's really cool. No, I'm gonna link them. Why not? Why the fuck not?
Yeah, give them a look.
Give them a plug. Go give them a follow. Yada, yada, yada. There it is again. Speaking of yada, 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 if the hashtag what are words shirts does good, I'm going to make another one that says yada, yada, yada. Even if it only sells one, or I'm the only one that buys it just so I can wear it, I'm going to do it. But But yeah, there's the What a Word shirt, there's the Miss Nova Lee shirt, there's the Radiation Kick shirt. We released them all in conjunction with the 100 episodes, which will be 2 weeks ago by the time you're hearing this. But it's all there. Miss Nova Lee's Instagram page is there as well. But yeah, just go to the link tree. It has the GoFundMe. And again, I hate asking, but I've been, my friends are just like, fucking, it's there, do it. If you have the cash or if you want to share it around, please do. As I said, we're not in as big of a bind currently because we've got a bigger gap between appointments now, and fingers crossed, hopefully we're on on schedule, we're back on track now. And we won't have any more emergency ones, and we'll have a few months between to plan. But yeah, it's there. Amazon wish list. But yeah, all the links are there for the graphics page. Hit me up, Crossfire Graphics. If you go to the page, there's one pin post, which is the actually I think the GoFundMe's pinned on there as well. So there's 2 pin posts, but one of the first things you see is the current price list. I did put them up 1 year to the day of starting. I put them up not a lot. Like I still feel, especially for Australian dollars, and I did talk about this last week as you're hearing this in the episode with Derek at 101 about you've got to kind of there's trying to help people with cheaper prices, but then there's also knowing your worth. So I put it up just that tiny little bit because I was lowballing myself, but it's still, look, $60 for a complete poster and a complete set of match graphics with free revisions because wrestling is card subject to change unless you want me to redo the entire style of the poster, in which case I will charge you. But if you just need to go, fuck, this person's out, put this person in, I'll do that. Free, done, no worries. $60, but hit me up, It's all good.
Hit him up, fam.
Again, thank you, Jeff, for jumping on. And I do apologize again for the stupid Yu-Gi-Oh questions that I send you, but who else would I go to? Maybe I could go to David, Goldman's best Yu-Gi-Oh player is a little callback to the conversation, but no. Hopefully by this point I've caught up with David too, seeing as how he is legally my cousin. It's by marriage from him when my nan married my grandfather all of those decades ago, but again, I don't know why all of a sudden I'm talking like Sir Benjamin. I haven't even done a Twitch stream this week, and apparently I'm Sir Benjamin. Anyway, yeah, but my Twitch is in the link tree as well if you want to fucking go follow me on there, but this is just going off the rails. Do you have anything you need to add? This is dropping on April 28th.
No, I'm just giggling in the background.
So in 1 week's time from this
I'm in hysteria right now.
In 1 week's time from this episode dropping, we'll have the first ever double feature. We have the ECW Boogaloo show preview. Hopefully we don't get too many interruptions from people on that roster wanting to get their 2 cents in, but if ECW management says it has to be on there, then it's going to be on there.
Just don't shoot me.
And then later that night, Markapalooza Wrestlers versus Star Wars Wrestle Force, because Wrestle Wars was too obvious.
And I will be your guest referee.
Has been overused in real life. But yes, Miss Nova Lee is going to be here to make sure it's fair for Mighty Kai. Since he's not here in person, he won't be able to see the coin flips and the yada yada. And hopefully Mrs Crossfire can...
Yada yada.
Hopefully, I might even give you a pen and paper just so you can write down
as
you're going and just say, okay, match 1 is this, match 2 is that, da-da-da-da. And yeah, but thanks to Jeff for hopping on. Definitely nothing else you need to plug?
No.
What about hashtag James Marshall OnlyFans as a callback to 2 episodes ago?
Yeah, solid.
But yeah, this is dropping on April 28th. But yeah, doubleheader, episode 103, 104 next week. And then 105 will most likely be the Dark Side of the Ring Season 4 review. But hey, if we keep going the way we're going and we do get some of these interviews in the can, might even be able to start doing 2 a week. I don't know if I'll keep doing it just on the Sunday or 2 different days a week, but I'm having fun. Mrs. Crossfire's having fun. She's keeping me sane. Love her very much. Oh, she drives me insane as well. It's a paradox.
You drive me insane.
Can't live with her, can't live without her.
I'm in hysteria.
But I am the essential Journal Crossfire. With me was the Nova Lee. Sensational Nova Lee. That's gimmick infringement, but I've been calling her that for the last few episodes now, so it's just sticking.
You know what my
That's
gimmick
the highest
is?
level of praise I can give.
My gimmick's the smark ass. Nova Lee.
Yes, total smark ass.
The total smark ass, Nova Lee.
At least just self-aware. But yeah, thanks to Jeff G-Mac for jumping on. I guarantee you there will be a third and maybe a fourth and a fifth. And actually, there will be a third of some point because we're going to do some sort of wrestlers versus fictional characters or wrestlers versus anime or some sort of fuckery.
If it's anime, I said in this that I want to be on it. So I better be in it.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll just have to do extra matches and you can pick so many and Jeff can pick so many. I don't know. We'll work it out.
Let's Vince Russo this shit, bitch.
But yeah, thank you to Jesus. That was aggressive.
Thank you to GMAC for the 100th time.
Thank you to GMAC.
Thank you, GMAC.
Let's wrap this
Praise
shit
the
up.
Lord, GMAC.
Oh, Jesus.
Sorry,
Thank God for editing, because by the time that was really loud in my ears.
My bad, sorry.
Luckily, it's going to go down a decibel or two before this goes out, so hopefully the earphone users don't go fucking deaf. Shout out DPC.
Shout out DPC for the 100th time.
And Nick Martino, he's deaf in
And
one
Nick
ear as well.
Martino.
And my brother Jack, who's deaf in one ear as well.
Hey, they'll
Love
be
y'all.
able to hear me from a mile away.
Love you all, love your work. No, thanks GMAC. I am the Essential Janelle Crossfire. She is the lovely Miss Nova Lee. You were just caught
in conversation, shakalaka laka.
Yada yada
Just
yada.
that in the third.
Yada yada yada.